Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to take you through a quick yoga flow to help open out the heart space, open out the shoulders and get the body moving. If you need to take a child's pose at any point during today's practice, please feel free to. Don't wait for me to cue it. Know that if your body needs that, then please come into that shape. And if child's pose doesn't feel good to you today, then come into a laying position instead. Now we're going to start today's practice in a cross-legged seat. So if you come into this position and you feel as though you need to take something underneath your seat, like a folded blanket or maybe a block, then take that underneath just to allow some elevation to come into the hips. This will allow the hips to soften, to open that a little bit easier, and also for the spine to lengthen. So as we start to breathe deeply, you can take more oxygen in and allow the breath to flow that little bit freer instead of almost coming into the seat and rounding inwards. So just taking whatever feels good to you today. And we'll start by either taking the palms facing down on the thighs or the palms flipped, depending on what sort of energy you'd like to cultivate. So palms facing down is your grounding energy and the palms flipped is your receiving energy. So taking whatever suits you, try not to think about it too much. Just go with whatever serves you today or whatever you connect with. We'll take the time to lengthen up through the crown of the head, to soften the shoulders away from the ears and start to close off the eyes. Bringing the awareness to the breath. And acknowledging how that feels today. So as you take that fresh air in through the nose, can you feel into the tingling sensation that that brings? The freshness that's pouring into the body, traveling all the way down to the pit of the stomach. And as you sigh out, can you release any of that stale air that's held within your body, releasing some of the warmth? And are you releasing out of the mouth, or does it feel nicer to release out of the nose again, activating Ujjayi? And taking a little moment to check in with how you feel today physically. So what's going on within your body? Is there any areas of tenderness? Any areas that feel achy, sore or stiff? When you come to those areas, can you breathe into those spaces, allowing them to soften, to open, to relax? As we continue to focus on the breath and slow down today, you can use this time as an opportunity to set an intention for your practice. Now this may be a certain goal, sentence, phrase or affirmation you'd like to connect with as you step on your yoga mat. And this may be for your hour of yoga. Or it could be something you can carry with you off of your mat and into the rest of your day, allowing some mindfulness to come into your day-to-day life and to be reminded of this blissful state without physically being on the yoga mat. And if intention setting doesn't feel right to you, then you can leave that and return at a later date when it feels more suited to you. However, if you have set an intention, allow it to become part of you. Allow it to embed into your energy, into your body, almost as if that intention has already come to life. So breathe it into the body. And sigh out, release anything that no longer serves you. Take another full inhale, start to breathe into the belly, into the ribs and up into the chest. Exhale, part the lips and sigh out. Just one more now. Breathe in belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, sigh out, release. Now either keeping the eyes closed down or softly fluttering them open. With your next inhalation, take the arms up and overhead. We'll reach up through the sides of the body, lifting the gaze towards the fingertips if you do have the eyes open. If you don't, then lift the chin upwards. Exhale, hands then drop down to the heart center in a prayer position. Inhale, arms rise, lift up and out to the sides of the waist. As you exhale, thumbs drop to the heart center, thumbs to chest. Beautiful. One more inhale, taking the arms up and overhead. As you exhale, we'll drop the right hand down to the mat, find a side stretch in the body. Opening out through the left and trying not to lift that left hip as you come over to that right side, still grounding through both sit bones. Playing around with what feels nice for your neck today. Maybe you want to take the gaze down towards that right shoulder or lift the chin up to the ceiling, opening out through that left armpit further. Just one more inhalation here. Then as you exhale, bend into that left elbow and bring the hand behind the head or to the nape of the neck. Start to corkscrew the heart towards the ceiling, and if you haven't already, lift the chin there. Open out and find a little twist. Just finding one inhalation. Then as you exhale, release the hand from the back of the head, drop it behind you, and reach the right fingertips, up and overhead. Reaching towards the back of your room, still keeping that little twist in the belly. Pause for the inhalation. Then as you exhale, almost semi-circling the body round, reaching that right hand for the left knee, curling inwards. Then inhale the left arm up and overhead. The gaze follows the fingertips. Cross that arm over the right one and reach for the right knee. Bowing the head down, inflating through the back of the heart, drawing the chin in towards the chest. Gaze towards the navel. Take an inhale and an exhale. Wrapping the arms around the back as you breathe in, giving yourself a nice big squeeze. Continuing that inhale, take the arms up and overhead, almost as if you're pulling off a big jumper, unraveling the arms and then floating the fingertips down by your sides. We'll take that over to the other side now. Inhale, arms rise up and overhead, the chin lifts to the ceiling. Exhale, hands drop down to heart center in a prayer position. Just taking that as a little reset. Arms then rise up and overhead. As you exhale, dropping the left fingertips down to your mat, find that side stretch over to the left, but opening out that right side of the body. Feeling that little tug from the right side of the waist or the right hip, all the way up into the armpit. And if you haven't already, start to lift the chin towards the ceiling. Bending into that top elbow, bring the fingertips behind the head or behind the ear. Start to corkscrew the heart towards the ceiling. Opening that elbow outwards and pressing the floor away from you with that left palm. Take a full inhalation here, inflate through the heart. As you exhale, drop the right fingertips behind you. Left arm reaches up and overhead. Keeping that little mini twist in the belly. Taking the gaze down towards that right shoulder now as you open out through the left side of the body. One inhale, then using the exhale to travel down, reaching the left fingertips towards that right knee, curling in. Right fingertips reach up and overhead, gaze follows. Crossing the arm over the left one and reaching for that left knee. Rounding in, inflating through the back of the heart. Lovely. And with your next inhalation, wrapping the arms around the body, give yourself a nice big squeeze, sending yourself some love today, and then unraveling the arms, almost as if you're taking off that nice big jumper. Let the fingertips then open out to the sides. Beautiful. From here, we'll then walk the hands forwards to come onto the hands and the knees, uncross the ankles, and shimmy your way to the back of the mat, making your way into child's pose. Now, if that doesn't feel great for you today and you can't move through that transition, then we'll just simply meet in child's pose. Take any little wiggles or motions that you need to get yourself there. And know that this pose is always an option. As we curl inwards, we create this little sense of security. Rounding inwards, letting the head drop. We almost return home as we come into this position. Tapping into the comfort of curling in and soothing any anxiety or worry.
detaching us from that fight or flight response, soothing the sympathetic nervous system. Now, I'm not saying you can take child's pose in the supermarket or when you're driving, but it's really important to take child's pose whenever you need, and it might not necessarily be on the yoga mat. So if you need to take that little breather or almost be reminded of this position to return home, then I always recommend taking it. Just a few deep breaths in a curled in position can do wonders. Now with your next inhalation, we'll start to make our way up onto the hands and the knees, coming to tabletop. Adjusting yourself so you have the wrists underneath the shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. We'll move through a few rounds of cat and cow to get the spine moving. So with your next breath in, drop the belly downwards and lift the tail high. Take the chin away from the chest. As you exhale, heavy the crown of the head, curl the tailbone underneath you as you press the floor away and spread the shoulder blades apart. Nice deep breath in, drop the belly, spreading the sitting bones behind you, lengthen through the abdomen. Exhale, rounding through, curling in, press the floor away, open out through the back. Nice inhale to get you into that cow position. Exhale, rounding through to contract. Beautiful. One more here. Inhale to open. Squeeze those shoulder blades together, pull the heart through the upper arms. Exhale, rounding through, gaze towards the navel, curl the tailbone in. We'll then start to flatten through the spine, making your way to neutral tabletop position. Press evenly between the palms, but start to shift the weight into the left knee, so you can lift the right one up off of the mat, sending the toes to the ceiling. Tiger pose. Now you'll already start to feel that shift in weight over onto that left wrist. See if you can keep the shoulders nice and level, nice and square by pressing just as much into the right palm as you are into the left. Zipping the belly button in and up. If you feel as though the belly starts to drop here, then slightly lower the knee and hug the rib cage inwards, sucking the belly button in towards the spine, lengthening through the back of the neck. Relax the shoulders. We'll pause for an inhalation. Then as you exhale, draw the knee into the nose, rounding through, press the floor away to create some space. Inhale to lift the toes, lengthen through the spine. Nice big breath to get you there. Breathe out, sigh it out as you curl inwards, you create this contraction. This time start to lift the toes high. Now drop the belly and ignore exactly what I've just said. Taking the chin away from the chest, opening out into like a little C curve with the spine. Then exhale, contracting, curling inwards. Just one more of those. Inhale to lift, create that little bow shape. Take the gaze forwards, exhale, rounding inwards. Beautiful. We'll then step that right foot to the outer side of your right palm, sinking low into lizard lunge. Both hands to the inside of that right foot. If you need to take a block underneath the palms, then please feel free to. Sinking those hips forwards and down, breathing into the hip space, the outer side of that right hip or right leg. Then when you're ready, we'll start to heel toe that right foot to come to the midline of your mat. Your right palm comes round to frame it. With an inhalation, the arms rise up and overhead, pressing into that right sole of the foot to engage through the inner thighs, lifting up through the core, through the crown of the head as the fingertips rise. Taking the exhale to settle, maybe you can sink a little lower into the hips. Take another inhale here. Then as you exhale, start to straighten through that right leg, walking the fingertips back, coming into half split position. Now you can grab a block underneath the palms and the inside of the leg if you need it, and you can soften into that right knee as much as you need. Either way, pointing the toes up towards the face, towards the ceiling to create that flexion within your foot. Pulling the heart space past the toes, the gaze comes towards the top of the mat too to lengthen through the spine. Take a full inhale. As you exhale, start to reground through the sole of the foot, rebend into the knee, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee and take the arms up and overhead for high lunge. Breathe out to settle into the shape. We'll then take an inhale. As you exhale, swim the arms back and dive the chest down. Body is held in suspension as we come into this wide pyramid shape, back heels lifted. Pausing for one more inhalation, can you grow that little bit longer through the spine? And as you exhale, dropping the hands down, melting over the thigh, bowing the head, come into your fold. Beautiful. Just one more breath in here and one more breath out. Now we'll start to get light on the back toes. Walk the fingertips forwards towards the top of the mat and lift the gaze there. We'll then step forwards to come into a forward fold. Hanging over the thighs and again softening into the knees as much as you need. Allowing the head to heavy down. If you want to stay in stillness, you can stay here. Or if you'd like to take a little ragdoll, step the feet out nice and wide to the sides of the mat. Take a hold of opposite elbows and sway from side to side for ragdoll. Beautiful. We're just going to take one more inhalation, then as you exhale, releasing the grip of the elbows if you had them, and we'll heel to the feet to come together. Rising all the way up as you inhale, take the arms up and overhead, but moving through each little vertebrae to slowly lift the head up last, and then the gaze can lift towards the fingertips. Exhale, hands then drop down to the heart in a prayer position. Arms rise up and overhead. As you exhale, melting over the thighs, diving the chest all the way down as you drop the fingertips and the head then heavies. Planting your fingertips down into your mat or into a block, create a little halfway lift, an L shape with the body as you peel the chest from the thighs. Grounding through the right sole of the foot will then release the left leg behind you to create an L shape with the legs. That heel comes in line with the hip. Toes pointing downwards. Pause for an inhale. Then as you exhale, softly landing the left toes behind you, dropping the knee down and taking the arms up and overhead, just for an inhalation. As you exhale, then dropping the left palm to the inside of that right foot, right fingertips stay lifted. Start to twist from the belly, stacking the shoulders and lifting the gaze towards that right palm. So good, guys. Sinking low into the hips. Twisting from the belly, pressing the floor away from you with that left palm. Start to plug into the left fingertips, get light on the right toes as we then swing that right leg to come all the way round to the back of the mat, keeping that right arm lifted. We turn the hip points to shine over towards the right side of the room or towards the right side of your mat. Coming into a little modified side plank, take an inhale and an exhale. One more inhalation. Then as you exhale, tilting the hip points downwards towards your mat, that right palm drops back down, and then slide the knee back in, making your way into tabletop position. Give the hips a little sway as we reset. We'll take one round of cat and cow, almost as like a little vinyasa here. So take a full breath in to expand, full breath out, contract. Flattening through the spine, neutral tabletop position, pressing evenly between the palms. Start to press the weight into that right knee. Pick the left one up off the mat, sending the toes high. Beautiful. And finding that nice strong foundation before we move into movement. Zipping the belly button in and up, find that core engagement. Pause for the inhale, keep the gaze down. As you exhale, knee draws in towards the nose, press the floor away to create space. Inhale to lift the toes, to take the gaze downwards, tiger pose. Exhale, rounding in. Now inhale, lifting the toes, drop the belly, inflate through the heart as you take the chin away from the chest, lifting the toes as high as they'll go. Exhale, rounding inwards, press the floor away, curl in. Inhale, lifting up high. Exhale, rounding through. One more, inhale to lift. And exhale, round in. Then stepping that left foot to the outer side of the left palm, you can use the hand to assist you here. Grounding through the left sole, you can come up onto the fingertips or grab a block if you need it. Lengthen through the spine as you sink the hips down, pull the heart space through the chin away from the chest. Allow the breath to travel up the body into the shoulders. And exhale to melt, to soften in. Take a full breath in. And a full breath out. Feeling into that sensation of the outside of that left leg. We'll then heel toe that left foot to come to the inside or the midline of your mat, the inside of that left palm, you shift it round. Then with an inhalation, arms then rise up and overhead, settling into your low lunge position. Now maybe you can sink a little bit lower into the hips, feeling into the top of that right thigh now, getting into the hip flexor muscle. Keeping the arms up and overhead, but softening through the shoulders, taking the gaze forwards, or you can slightly lift the chin if you'd like. Just make sure you aren't flaring the ribs. Made a little shh then. The ribs. One more inhalation. Then as you exhale, start to glide the hips back, straighten through that left leg, peel the toes off of the mat. And again on this side, bending into the knee as much as you need. This side might feel a little bit different to the first in the sense that it could be more open, you can take it deeper, or it feels more closed off. My left side is definitely tighter than my right, so I tend to just soften slightly or come out of a fold just to cater to that. Now just making sure that the tailbone's tucked underneath you, so we're not sticking the bum out to the side, we're curling that left hip back and shooting the right hip forwards. So we're creating that squaring off action. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. With an inhale, reground through that left sole of the foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, arms then rise up and overhead, coming into high lunge. Exhale, settling into your shape, bending into that left knee, knee stacks on top of the ankle. Softening the shoulders, taking the gaze forwards and down, just to help with your balance. Or if you feel like you want a little challenge, then you can lift the gaze upwards. Either way, one inhalation. As you exhale, straightening through that front leg, swim the arms back as you dive the chest down, parallel to your mat. Pause for an inhale. Exhale, melt over the thigh, drop the hands, drop the head as you melt into your shape. Feeling into the back of that left thigh now, really nice juicy hamstring stretch, targeting one leg at a time. And again, this side might feel a little bit different to the first, so breathe into it. An inhale and an exhale. Starting to soften into that left knee as you inhale, walking the hands forwards and stepping to the top of the mat, right foot meets the left. Hanging over the thighs, give the legs a shake if you need it, and if you want to come into another ragdoll, then you can. This time you can interlace the hands and take the hands to the nape of the neck, just behind the head, and sway from side to side that way, adding a little bit of weight into this shape, into this pose. As you sway from side to side, it allows you to heavy the head further, to soften the shoulders, and to encourage the relaxation to come into the face as well. So unclenching the jaw, releasing the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Just one more breath in. I've got a little bit bunged up as I folded over. Then as you breathe out, releasing the fingertips, start to heel toe the feet to come together. Grounding through all four corners of the feet, lifting up and out of the arches with an inhale, rising all the way up into mounting pose. The gaze follows the fingertips as they rise all the way up to the ceiling. As you exhale, hands drop in front of the heart, prayer position. Inhale, arms rise high. As you exhale, diving over the thighs, arms open outwards, broaden out through the chest as you drop the fingertips and you drop the head. Little halfway lift as you breathe in, keeping the fingertips down to your mat or to a block. Then grounding through the left sole of the foot, take the right foot behind you, keeping that half lift in the body. Create an L shape with the legs. Pause for the breath in. As you breathe out, softening into that left knee, dropping the right knee behind you and untucking the right toes. The arms then rise up and overhead just for an inhalation. As you exhale, right palm drops to the inside of that left thigh. Reaching the left fingertips high, lift the gaze, find that twist in the belly. Almost turning the right side of the body underneath you as you reach towards the ceiling, trying to stack the shoulders on top of one another. And it's important to press the floor away from you with that right palm, so the shoulders aren't shrugged towards the ear. You want to create space for the neck. Beautiful, nice guys, looking good. Pause for the inhale. And the exhale, then using a nice strong inhale to ground through that right palm, get light on the left foot as you swing it all the way around to the back of the mat, coming into modified side plank. Keep that left arm lifted, keep the left gaze lifted as you can, if you can, and lift up and out of the right side of the waist. Sending the hips high, stacking the hips on top of one another. Just one more inhale. As you exhale, dropping that left palm down to the mat, turning the hip points back to neutral and then sliding that left knee back in. Sink the hips down to the heels, extend the arms forwards as you come into child's pose. Allowing the breath to travel all the way up the back and into the shoulders. And exhale, sigh all the way out. Take another full inhale. Exhale, release. Now we'll take some of that flow a little bit quicker than the time before now. Flowing with the breath. Maybe we can use this as an opportunity to get a little bit deeper. And this flow will just be a tad different as we move through some different shapes. And as we take it a little bit quicker, we can take some almost little shortcuts or amplifications. However, if that first round suited you better, then you are more than welcome to move through that flow instead. With your next inhalation, coming up onto the hands and the knees, making your way to tabletop. As you exhale, tuck the toes, lift the knees up, glide the hips up and back. Pressing evenly between the palms, inhale the right leg high for three-legged down dog, drawing the heel up, engaging through the glutes. Pausing for one more inhale, then as you exhale, bending into the right knee and stepping the foot between the palms. Dropping the left knee down, option to untuck the toes, arms sweep up and overhead for low lunge, inhale. As you exhale, making your way down into your half split position, dropping the fingertips, extending through that right leg. Inhale, rebend into the sole or rebend into the knee, planting that right sole of the foot. Tuck the left toes under, lift the left knee, arms rise up and overhead, coming to high lunge as you inhale. Exhale, then swim the arms back. Dive the chest down, shoot the crown of the head forwards, wrapping that right hip underneath you, shooting the left hip forwards. Full inhale. As you exhale, drop the hands, drop the head, melt over that right thigh. 2 cycles of breath here. Lifting the gaze with your next inhalation, softening into the right knee, stepping that left foot to meet the right as you come to forward fold. Arms rise up and overhead as you inhale. Exhale, hands drop to heart center prayer, thumbs to chest. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, diving all the way down, melting over the thighs as you drop the fingertips, as you drop the head. Create a halfway lift as you inhale, releasing the left foot behind you. Exhale, softening into that right knee, land the left toes behind you, arms rise up, low lunge. Exhale, left fingertips drop down to your mat, right hand stays lifted, coming into that easy twist, twisting from the belly. Then using your next inhalation to swing the right leg all the way round to the back of the mat. This time coming into stargazer, reaching the right fingertips up and overhead towards the top of the mat, sending the hips a little bit more forwards than you think, opening out through the side of the body. One inhale. As you exhale, melting the hips downwards, letting that left foot slide to the inside of that right thigh, stretching towards the top of the mat. If you come off of your mat, that's fine, or the back of your mat, sorry. We'll then reach for that right thigh or right foot as you fold over. I'm getting super confused today. As soon as we turn to the back of the mat, I've just lost all orientation. Take a full inhale. Exhale, breathe into that nice juicy stretch into the back of the leg. Using your next inhale to slowly unravel, walking the hands round to the top of the mat. We'll keep that right leg lengthened out, start to tuck the right toes under, press the floor away from you and hug the left knee into the chest for tiger curl. Exhale to three-legged down dog on the left side. Heavying the head down, sending the chest back towards the thighs. Ready to start on the other side. So we'll pause for the inhale. As you exhale, bending into that left knee and stepping the foot between the palms, dropping the right knee down, arms come up and overhead as you breathe in. Breathe out to half split position, rain the fingertips back. Rain the fingertips down, dropping the head. Inhale, coming forwards into your high lunge, tucking the right toes under, lifting the right knee, arms come up and overhead as you breathe in. Breathe out, wide pyramid, shoot the fingertips back, dive the chest down, shoot the crown of the head forwards as you breathe in. Breathe out, dropping the hands down, melting the head, pausing for 2 cycles of breath, working into the back of that left thigh. This side might feel a little bit different to the first, so soften into the knee if you need it, breathing steady. Stepping forwards to the top of your mat with your next inhalation, grounding through the soles of the feet. Arms then rise up and overhead as you breathe in, gaze follows the fingertips. Exhale, hands drop to the heart, prayer position. Inhale, arms rise. As you exhale, diving the chest down, melting over the thighs, riding out the whole of the exhale, dropping the head at the bottom. Halfway lift as you breathe in, grounding through the fingertips. Left foot presses down, send the right leg all the way back. Exhale, soften into the left knee, land the right toes behind you, drop the knee down. Inhale, arms come up and overhead. Exhale, right hand drops to the inside of the left thigh, left fingertips stay up, lifting the gaze there. Press the floor away, ground through that right foot. As you inhale, swinging that left leg all the way around to the back of the mat, reaching the left fingertips up and overhead for stargazer. Send the hips forwards, open out through the heart space, nice expressionate shape. Pause for the inhale. Exhale, settling the hips down. Right foot to the inside of that left thigh as you crab walk the hands all the way around to that left foot. Melting over the leg, find your little hamstring stretch. Bow down, drop the head, 2 cycles of breath here. Then using the inhale to slowly rise all the way up, walking the hands back round towards the top of your mat, keeping the left leg lengthened. Hug the right knee into the chest as you breathe in. Breathe out to 3-legged down dog on the right side. Slowly lower the right toes down to your mat as you come to downward facing dog. Then with your next inhalation, wave it forwards to high plank. Come high onto the tippy toes, wrists come over the shoulders. Exhale, nice deep bend into the knees. The shins hover over your mat, parallel for floating tabletop. Pause for the breath in. As you breathe out, dropping the knees down at exactly the same time, untucking the toes, sinking the hips down to the heels, coming into your child's pose. Dropping the forehead down into your mat, breathe in. Breathe out, release. Now, if you want to come into a more comfortable variation of child's pose, one that suits you better, you can open the knees out nice and wide, letting the heart space fall between the thighs. You can also take the arms to come alongside the legs, dropping the forehead down, almost coming into a little fetal position. Either way, feeling into the points of contact you have with your mat here, grounding through the whole of the front body as you inflate through the back body. Returning to home, that sense of security, of safety as we round inwards. You can also use this as an opportunity to return to the intention you set at the beginning of practice. Now please feel free to stay here for as long as you need or come into a traditional variation of Shavasana, laying down. However, I will take this time now to leave you as you are and say thank you so much for practicing with me today. It was great to have you on the mat and I hope to see you again soon. From my heart to yours, namaste.